very confused about the Genius Act. I thought there was a deal made by the president to make sure that included was going to be the central bank digital currency. There'd be no possibility of a backdoor to get that. So where are we?
This was a closed rule. Johnson did not allow us to make amendments to the Genius Act, to make an amendment to put a ban on CBDC in the Genius Act. We were told, you don't have a right to amendments. You don't get to do your legislative process anymore. You just have to vote on it. And they forced it through, making what I think is a fake deal. And I wish the Freedom Caucus had held, but they didn't. They want to work and they want to pass the president's agenda, and I do too. But I'm not willing to go along with the pathway to a central bank digital currency in a cashless society where none of us can control our money. Because I don't trust the government, and no one else should trust the government. And just because this administration is committed to that doesn't mean that a future administration will not lock down our bank accounts if we are not doing and saying what they want us to do. We've already been there. That was the past 4 years.
When you go past one of these number plate cameras, when you, quote, shouldn't, you won't be able to challenge the fine, because the fine will be taken out of your digital account the moment you transgress.
At the world's busiest airport in Atlanta,
all right, you're fully verified.
The TSA checkpoint has gotten a high-tech upgrade.
You're going to take your ID, insert it into the card reader.
Using this facial recognition camera system to compare a flyer's face to their picture on their ID in seconds.
The Genius Act, already greenlit by a bipartisan Senate, claims to slap a federal harness on stable coins. Stable coins aim for price stability through mechanisms like backing each coin with reserves of cash, bonds, or other assets. The Clarity Act is a tug of war over who gets to leash these digital assets. Will it be the SEC or the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, potentially prying them loose from the SEC's iron grip? A move the crypto rebels have been howling for. The Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, championed by Republicans, aims to slam the door on a central bank digital currency, citing nightmares of government snooping and control. Yet many warn of a sinister backdoor, a legislative sleight of hand that could see these bills, if watered down in the Senate or hitched to must-pass juggernauts like the NDAA, could pave the way for a CBDC Trojan horse.
4 years ago, while billions of people were getting an experimental gene therapy drug, the United Nations announced their goal to get the entire world on digital IDs by the year 2030, which is a stated part of their Sustainable Development 2030 agenda.
The United Nations is ready to digitally transform how it deals with identity, with a system to streamline information sharing, daily workflows, access to platforms and buildings, operating across agencies by providing its personnel with a universal system-wide identity solution. Introducing the UN Digital ID, a unique and digital identity for UN personnel from the day you join to the day you part. All of your personal, HR, medical, travel, security, payroll and pension data in the palm of your hand, giving you full control on what you share and with whom. With blockchain and biometrics, the UN Digital ID makes verification efficient, secure, transparent, immutable, portable and universal. It's been piloted by different agencies and the UN Pension Fund, where they've replaced current manual processes with certainty for who and where pension recipients say they are at any given time. As innovation transforms the world, we can improve the way we manage our identities online. UN Digital IDs, a building block for digital cooperation, unlocking the promise of the SDGs.
About 5 years before that, presidential candidate Donald Trump stated that this was also his goal.
We will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
The main purpose of opening the borders was to create chaos so that order in the form of a digital ID system would be tolerated. In order for a biometric border system to work, everyone will obviously need to be in the system. And the Trump administration is using tariffs to compel foreign nations to comply. After threatening to impose harsher tariffs on Colombia, the Statement of Intent for Biometric Cooperation was drafted between the U.S. and Colombia. After returning from this trip, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said that she met with Mexican President Sheinbaum about sharing biometric data in exchange for ending tariffs.
Do you think the Mexican president, you talked to her, is doing enough to defeat the cartels down there?
You know, we talked extensively about that. I gave her some options of more she could do. And I asked her specifically to share biometric information with us. And she's willing to discuss that, even though that in her country would be a little bit controversial. But she's putting a good faith effort. But President Trump is clear. He doesn't want people to keep talking. He wants to see action. And she has an opportunity to do some things that I will give a report to the president on and see if we can deal with the tariff situation that may be facing her people.
As a result of this, several laws went into effect last week in Mexico that will require the CURP, Mexico's 18-character version of the U.S. Social Security number, to include a QR code containing biometric data of both fingerprints and retinal scans. These new digital IDs will be monitored by the new Unified Identity Platform Agency, and biometric data will be shared with both Mexican and U.S. government agencies. The new biometric CURP will be legally required to purchase internet and mobile service, and changes to Mexico's telecommunications law will force internet service providers to share users' real-time geolocation data with Mexican authorities, allowing them the ability to shut down service and block digital platforms for failing to comply with regulatory provisions.
Shalom, call William La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. So, double honest sales with GMS, honestly, ᛖark. Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters that listen to Church of the Firstborn, the hopeful elect, call William La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And the MOTB update, man, call William La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. For people who still can't see it, and at this point, really, really don't even care, but we do have to edify the sheep. You guys still can't see the mark of the beast. You're just willingly being ignorant at this point. And these camps are not even talking about it, right? And you all going to be faced with that, because Yahweh Bahashim Shah said that's what you're going to be faced with in the hour of temptation. Are you going to bow to the beast and his image and his mark, right? Which we can see him bringing forth his image, his NWO, his great re, okay? And what's the badge? What's going to tie you is that mark, right? Which we can see Aisha now, which is that implantable microchip device, man. We can see now Trump, he signed it into law last Friday. The House voted on it. He got the votes. He signed it into law on Friday. The Genius Act, which is pretty much stable coins, the cryptocurrency, pretty much is a hybrid between cryptocurrency and the CBDC. It's pretty much a backdoor for the CBDC, which you brothers and sisters know that is a central banking digital currency, right? They spoke about this at the UN a couple of years back. I see if I can put those clips up, man, because we've spoken this countless times before, that they have to crash the system. They're doing away with cash, and everything is about to be digital. And also, which I'll get to that in 1 second, like I said, the digital currency, man, which digital currency equals slavery, because they'll be able to see and know all. And if you go against them, they'll just deplete your bank account, right? And they said the stable coins is not really CBDC, because it's tied to bonds, or it's tied to cash, or it could be tied to coins. Man, it's all the same shit, man, because they're doing it in the EU, and they're doing it in different parts of the world, even in Africa, and now America. Now he signed it into law. So this is the infrastructure, right? And you have all these banks, Citigroup, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, all the major players say, we're going to have our stable coin. So the infrastructure is already set up in place for when this global economic collapse happen. This will be the solution, man. Typical order ad chaos. Most of these jakes don't even have a clue. I didn't see these other camps talk about it because they're not the prophets, man. And we also see the digital ID, the biometric system is also being brought forth. And how this fool Trump is using tariffs for nations to comply with this new biometric system and his digital ID. He did it with Colombia and he did it with Mexico. As the scripture says, he calls it both all small and great, rich and poor. That's all these nations are buying into the system. So that whole tariff thing is just a front, man. They say, you listen, I'll drop the tariffs if you exchange biometric information. If you adopt this new system. Okay, and like we said, they talked to the UN, spoke about this because this is a part of their 2030 agenda. In order for you to access the internet, you have to have a biometric digital ID, which that's going to tie to your social credit score and it's going to tie to your bank account. Say anything we don't like, just deplete your bank account, man. Won't have access to online and a whole host of things, man. Digital captivity, man. This is the beast system, man. Right? And of course, when ᛖark come out with it, he's not going to say this is the mark of the beast. He may call it whatever, man. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing, man. All right? So, man, a lot of news, man, is coming out. You know, a lot of these dudes, they know that it's the MOTB, but they sold out. Or they feel ashamed if they come out with it. They're going to be ridiculed, man. Because they've been teaching this lie for so long that it's Christianity, it's an embargo, it's sin. When they know full and well that, nah, this mark is physical. All right? Pale steak, man. Charagma. Let me get that Ezekiel the 33rd chapter. And if you know it is and you're not teaching it, well, the Lord is not dealing with you, man. What did the Lord tell Ezekiel? Let's get that Ezekiel 33 verse 17. So like I said, it's an MOTB update. You know, we're the watchmen. We are the watchmen, man. That's why Yahweh Shem Shah told Ezekiel, I'm going to jump down to verse 17. He says, again, the word of Yahweh Shem Shah came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak unto the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon a land, because it's not ᛖark that's bringing this, it's really Yahweh Shem Shah that's using him to bring forth this system. Okay? And that's going to separate the righteous from the wicked, man. Okay? We've seen 4 or 5 years ago, people took like we said, it was a prerequisite to this digital ID and this whole CBDC was the juice, man. Right? Couldn't travel, couldn't work, okay, couldn't get access to stadiums in certain places unless you had that. And you had to show that digital passport. That was just a test, man. Because that's also going to tie into your digital ID as well. Okay? And we've seen most of these people in Babylon, hell, in Western society, in Europe, they took it, man. They took it. So they're ripe for the mark of the beast, man. All right? And when ᛖark cut off your food supply and have you in camps and all these different disasters, and he present this, a lot of Israelites are going to take it, man. Why? Because we're going to keep reading. For when he see the sword cometh upon the land, he blow the trumpet. This is what we're doing. And warn the people. And whoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and take it not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. And this is what we're doing. We're blowing the trumpet. We warning you Israelites what the MOTB is. Right? Stop listening to these other guys, man. These false IUIC, okay, ISUPK, lying, man. You have a lot of other Israelite camps, man. Some of them might be sincere, but they're sincerely wrong. And they have that pride demon on them, man. They don't want to humble down. And they don't want to look like a fool in front of their congregation. Right? Some of them might know, but they disagree with the leadership. Well, you're being a man pleaser, because I'm going to read that precept in this same chapter, right? It says, his blood shall be upon his own head. So anything happen, man, listen, your blood is upon your own head because you Israelites, you heard the sound of the trumpet. Right? Matter of fact, that's the next high holy day. The memorial blowing of the trumpets, man. Right? Scripture says, blow the trumpet in the new moon. And spiritually, we're blowing the trumpet. We're sounding the alarm. Right? We let you know what's about to come. What this man is about to do. What's his next plan? All right? Let's jump on down. It says, verse 6. But if a watchman see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, like we said, some guys, they may know and agree, but because they're man pleasers, they don't want to bring it out. Well, the scripture says you see the sword coming and you're not sounding the right alarm. You're not blowing the trumpet. And the people be not warned. If the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. Hear that? So Yahweh Shem Shah is going to require that blood at your hand. You're guilty. Because this is not talking about sin. According to the scriptures, once you take that MOTB, you are condemned. You are an enemy of the Lord, man. That means you completely submitted over to Ishar. You said Ishar, who's the modern day Pharaoh, he's your God, man. All right? That's what you're saying, man. You received his badge, man. His mark, man. So that's why the scripture says there's no forgiveness at that point. And you can see we brought up videos on the Syntrom and the Paradromics and the Neuralink. That's in your head. That implantable device, these BCIs, brain computer interface, in your head, man. That's the precept. And when they ask the bankers in Europe, how is the CBDC going to look like? This new digital currency. It says something planted underneath your skin. Okay, so listen, man. The scripture says that at the end it shall speak and not lie. The prophecies, man. The prophecies is speaking, man. And Yahweh Shem Shah, I'm going to read that precept actually. That's what the Apostle Paul said, Acts chapter 20, verse 9. Just no excuses, man. The books is unsealed. Right? The scripture says in Revelation, the 22nd chapter, that not to seal the sayings of this book, or the prophecy of this book, because the time is at hand. This is the time, man. So let me get that precept. I said I was going to get, Acts, the 20th chapter. I'm sure I remembered. Right? That's what the Apostle Paul said. It's a precept. Acts chapter 20, verse 29. No. Well, actually, 29 is good too. But verse 27, he said, for I have not shunned to declare unto you all the counsel of the Most High, man. So the MOTBs are part of the counsel of Yahweh Shem Shah. That's in the prophecies. That's in the book. So we can't shun that, man. We don't want to go through that. It's not important. That's conspiracy. You are a liar, man. You are a false prophet. Yahweh Shem Shah did not send you. Right, you teaching Jake rebellion, man, against Yahweh Shem Shah, man. Because if you take it, you're through, you're finished. Right, so like we said, this whole tariffs is to get nations to buy into this new, and Trump talked about that digital visa tracking system. He said that will be on air, will be on land, and will be on sea. He said this when he was running for president the first time, man, in 2016. Show you that he's nothing but a damn Trojan horse. Oh, he's coming down. These idiotic, his followers are now starting to see that he's no different than the elite. No shit, you dumbasses, man. First of all, the word MAGA means witch. That man is a warlock, man. He sits on a Masonic seat. He's a part of the Brotherhood. Like we told these people, there ain't no difference between no damn Democrats and Republicans, man. All these people are Satanists. That's why he don't want to release the Epstein files. All right. So and like we said, the Democrats purposely opened the border, and he was talking about this digital tracking system before that incident. So how would they be justified? They opened the border, allowed people to come in. They created that chaos. Now they establishing the order. Now he's straight up and down creating concentration camps. Alligator Alcatraz. He's going to build more. Now they had to enforce a real ID. Now he signed the Genius Act. Now he's getting nations to give over their biometric data, or he's going to hit them with tariffs. This is the beast system. This is the infrastructure being laid. All right. So let me read. Like the scripture says, at the end it shall speak and not lie. Let me get Isaiah the 34th chapter. So I had to, do a video on this to the power of Yahweh, but shot at the original video, but when I seen, because we always looking at the news, what's going on, current affairs, and we link it with the scriptures, man. Isaiah 34:16, it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, the holy scriptures, and read. Right? You had that fool ᛖark. Oh, man. Right? His crazy breakdown. And where he at now, man? Spirit left that fool, man. But the scripture says, me to seek out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. What's not going to fail? The prophecies. Everything that's written will come to pass. Like I quoted Revelation 22nd chapter. The time is at hand. Scripture says, none shall want her mate. So you can't mate this book with any other book, man. Alright, it's talking about the Bible. Like I said, that fool ᛖark and the Sakari talking about, it was something they said it was the ostrich, because it's just precepts above going into different birds. It's not talking about that, man. Like we said, where is that camp now that was pushing all those heresies? He couldn't last. He fell out of the race. He didn't count the cost. Right? And that whole house fell because it wasn't built on Yahweh Shai. The rest of these guys is teaching lies. Teaching the MOTB is everything everything but what it is. Right? The mark of the beast, the RFID chip, which Esau's presenting in the form of what? These digital currencies tied with these digital IDs. See, this is the beast system. And of course, everything he wants a surveillance, this whole surveillance, tracking, AI, it's all that beast system. So let me get Proverbs the 27th chapter. Let me get a couple of precepts and I'm going to close this out to the power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Let me get that Proverbs 27, verse 12. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 12. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Where are we hiding ourselves? It's talking about going to bunker? No, man. All right, because you have people that's in that spirit, that faithless spirit, man. All right, we're not in that spirit, man. The secret place is these scriptures. Like we said, who's bringing the hour of temptation? Yahweh B'Shem Shai. And he's going to protect those that fear him, those that was teaching the right thing. He said, I'm going to keep you from the hour of temptation. And even if a brother get put to death, he's going to give you the spirit to resist it. So you can glorify his name, man. Be a martyr or witness for Yahweh Shai. Scripture says, so we foresee the evil that's coming, and we're hiding where? In the secret place, aka the word, man. Right? Wisdom is our strength. The scripture tells you wisdom is better than weapons of war. Right? So we stand in this book, man. Scripture says none shall want her mate. And also what? That all ties with what the name of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. But let's read on. It says, but the simple pass on and are punished, and that's 2/3. They're not paying attention to what's going on. These jakes, they all caught up into social media, being narcissists, entertaining the flesh. You know, Jake is, they not summer vacations, all that bullshit, man. Not in the spirit at all, man. Not paying attention to the trumpet that's being sound. Right? I see all like the brother do videos, Elder Monatazak, on all these jakes that's scoffing. Right? Scoffing at the Hebrew Israelites, man. And we giving you the words of life. But that's okay, because the scripture says there will be scoffers in the last days. So you're fulfilling prophecy. Because like we said, the Christian church is not bringing this out. Yeah, you do have some of them that know the mark of the beast, man. But what's their solution? Trusting in Jesus? That's a lie. Jesus is not going to save you. All right? Cesare Borgia is not going to save you, man. Okay? That's an idol, man. And that idol has been cast on already, man, along with Christianity, through the power of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. So let me read like I said, a couple of precepts, put some clips together, and yeah, man. That scripture says they frame mischief by a law. Let me get to actually Psalms 94. I think it's 21. Psalms 94, 21. It says they gather themselves together. Verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity, ᛖark, he's a throne of iniquity. Right? Scripture tells you that so Satan's seat dwelleth, which was back then was going into those different pretty much Rome, right? But now the scripture says his deadly wound was healed, going to the 7 heads, and the 8th head, aka the whore, is America, which is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, Babylon. So this is the throne of iniquity. And the scripture tells you that ᛖark, he's the border of wickedness. Right? He always speak lies, spew nothing but poison. So this is the throne of iniquity. Have fellowship with thee? No. Which frameth mischief by a law. Right? Law is supposed to bring order, man. Righteous order. But ᛖark, the scripture says he frameth mischief by a law. So he create these certain circumstances. And then he brings the law to be justified. I'm going to allow migrants into the country. Right? Which made no sense, man, to have open borders. No first world country does that, man. The so-called ruling nation of the world, America, just allow anybody just come over. You know, but that's all in the scriptures too, man. You know, Ezekiel, I think 38, where it talks about the land of unwalled villages. I think it's verse 10, 11, around there. That's America, man. You just walk across, which they did that purpose. Now they're bringing forth their draconian measures now, tightening shit up, right? Grabbing up migrants, throwing them in camps. Now we got to know who's who. Biometric digital IDs. Now he's signing, like we just went into this video, the Genius Act, that cryptocurrency bill with these stable coins, right? Which is pretty much a backdoor for the CBDC. So that's them framing mischief by a law or unrighteous decrees. Now, like I said, this links to Revelation, the 13th chapter, man. Right? To receive that mark in a right hand or their forehead. And people get simple. Or what about you? Well, the scripture says hands, Revelation, the 20th chapter, man. You could see this playing out. They signing the bills, the infrastructure being laid. You see Neuralink, these brain implantable devices. Neuralink, I think successfully did 2 people last week helping paraplegics, supposedly people that were blind, people that can't communicate or talk. They can communicate through certain devices, the computer, right? It maps out their thoughts. This is that great wonder. This is that technology that he's deceiving people with, man. He's the man of sin. These false miracles, and of course, AI, artificial intelligence, which just seems to be the breakout year. Everything is AI. And it's getting harder every day to differentiate what's real and what's not, man. ᛖark is doing this purposely, man. Okay, so like we said, man, you know, we blowing the trumpet and we're warning you Israelites, man. All right, so with that, like I say, shalom.